Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Zeigus, and I'm going to be bringing you a nice little VOD on Witch Doctor. First off, I know that we haven't uploaded in quite some time, probably about a month and 2 weeks, somewhere around there. So we do apologize for that. Hopefully now that school has let up a little bit and we both have a little bit more time, we will be uploading on a more regular basis. We did say that before, but hopefully this time we will actually be able to come through on that promise. Anyways, I did random Witch Doctor, so I picked up the courier for my team and went with pretty standard regen. I also added on a magic stick just because I saw what was on their team and it looked like that would be a good choice simply because I would get a lot of charges and a lot of use from this item overall. And we're going to be running a pretty aggressive lane setup. We have Ricky and Witch Doctor, so we could definitely do some really big burst damage plays with maledict, because as you know, maledict deals more damage for every instance of 100 damage, I believe. Yeah, for every 100 HP lost, it increases the damage. So with Blink Strike and Backstab, Cloud, and Cask, we have a really good recipe for dealing out very high spikes of burst damage. And we do see that Destroyer did actually disconnect here. I believe he comes back not too late into the lane, but I could be completely wrong. But as far as this lane goes, a lot of people like to do the whole Voodoo Restoration while they're babysitting a carry, and I really don't prefer that. I really much prefer, especially with a hero that I'm paired with, to go very aggressive with Witch Doctor. Because if you know the positioning on Cask, it could be a really strong early game stun if you know how to position yourself and wait for the proper moment to throw it out. Simply because if you throw out that Cask and it hits a range creep and bounces on to the range hero, you can actually get a 2-second stun at level 1. And pair that with the effect of Maledict, you're going to have a very strong potential to kill just about any hero in the game early on. So my main focus right now in this lane is to push AA out, as I know that Destroyer is completely sitting in the well right now, and I do see that top has 2 people and mid has 1 person. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a very aggressive lane. So I know I'm low HP here, but it looks like he's going to be trying to take me down. So I throw out that Cask right as that melee creep got onto him and hit him with a stun. My main goal there was to set Ricky up to get free auto attacks and a little bit of added damage from that creep. And that actually did net us the kill. I was pretty confident when he attacked me that he was going to die, because there was no way he was going to be able to deal the same amount of damage to me, which I believe he has around the same HP. Yeah, 587, so just about the same. When I'm dealing damage and Ricky's dealing damage, plus we had the 21 damage from the melee creep. So I was confident that I was going to be able to knock him out there, and we did actually get the first blood. I believe that our Ricky got it in this certain game. Whoops. Yeah, Ricky does get it, so that sets him up for a very good farm early on. And as you can see, we're kind of forcing him out of the lane at this point. The main goal whenever you have, this kind of situation, whether it be up on top, which is going to be the most preferable position to have someone solo, simply because they will have the support from their jungle, should they choose to have a jungle, is if you can, try to push them out of the lane. Because at this point, they're down here for one reason. And that's basically to try to do whatever they can to stop the carry from farming and to gather that experience. If they can't get experience or stop the carry from farming, they've effectively left the game, if you will. They're not contributing anything to the team, and they're not going to level up. I mean, he's level 3, we're level 3, and he's getting solo experience. And if you look at the experience bar at the very bottom here, he's about on par, or actually lower than our Ricky. So this dual lane is effectively, you know, getting solo experience in terms of what AA is experiencing. So as long as we keep a very aggressive behavior, we'll keep AA in the mindset that, well, I need to sit back or I'm going to get gibbed instantly. So now we see him getting a little bit more, you know, aggressive in his positioning. And I'm going to punish him for that. I want him to stay in the mindset, you know what, you need to stay back. And if you approach, we will kill you, essentially. And now that, you know, Destroyer's here, they should have, you know, much stronger presence in this lane. Because they are both range heroes, and they both are pretty good at stopping this combination. Simply because if AA, or not AA, Destroyer chooses the level Imprisonment, he has effectively nullified the strength of Maledict in this lane. Why? Because as soon as I throw out that Maledict, sure, I can deal some auto attack damage, but the main burst is going to be coming from our Riki. So if he taps that Imprisonment, as soon as he sees that Maledict go out onto Riki, it's not going to be doing enough damage to kill them, or, you know, make, you know, the HP loss that I'm going to incur by getting into that positioning worth it. So that's basically the most effective way to counter this lane setup. But I believe that it ends up not working that way, simply because of the way I position my casks. And you see that as soon as I saw that the 3 heroes, or in this case 2 heroes and the range creep, decide to stay back in a way where the cask has a 2 and 3 shot of landing on a hero. So I immediately saw that and threw out the cask. This forced them to take a very defensive position, because that cask was going to keep them stunned and essentially kill them there, which it ended up doing. The only problem here was that we did rotate early enough of Destroyer and went on to AA. I think a little bit of sloppiness occurred there. If we rotated earlier, I don't think we needed to dive there, and our Riki definitely wouldn't have died. Unfortunately, the side effect of having a Witch Doctor lane is that oftentimes you are going to be scoring those kills, which I did. I got both of them with that Maledict. So it's, you know, it kind of sucks, but you don't really have a choice. At this point, I thought that AA would have warded. That was kind of poor decision making by my part. I should have been able to recognize his items and such, but, you know, it was my mistake. So I am now going to be stacking and trying to pull, because as you can see, the lane is pretty pushed. I mean, it can't get any more pushed than where it's at right now. And we need to bring it back, and we need to abuse the fact that we have a level advantage, because we're level 5 and they're 4. 4 and 3, about to hit 4. And he's about to hit 6. So we need to take advantage of Maledict, because in my opinion, Maledict is at its peak earlier in the game. Like right around this time is when it's dealing unparalleled amounts of damage in terms of how much mana it costs and how easy it is to set up, especially with Blink Strike and Cask, if properly placed. So when you play Witch Doctor, the most important thing, in my opinion, is learning the ins and outs of being able to throw a proper cask. As I mentioned a few moments ago, as soon as I saw these 3, this area right here, separated from these melee creeps, that means cask could not bounce to them. I saw that it was an option to throw the cask out. See, you see how I just saw that Destroyer was close enough to the range creep to where it would bounce back onto Destroyer and get him that second stun and, you know, essentially give us that free kill. That is what is paramount to this hero. So, of course, this is going to take a lot of practice to get used to how the cask bounces and how close each creep needs to be for the cask to not bounce to them. but this is essential in playing this hero properly. Because having that cask bounce the way you want it to bounce is what's going to give you that kill, and is also what's going to make you a very, very strong Witch Doctor player. Because casking properly in the lane, in team battles, is what this hero is all about. Because cask at maximum level bounces 8 times. That means you have an 8-second stun effectively if you landed on the heroes during the team battle. And that is a very obnoxiously strong stun. In team battles, this will basically force them to spread out and disorganize their play. Meaning, carries who do not have BKB or melee heroes who do not have some sort of magic immunity are going to have to stop damaging your team and try to go, like, spread themselves out so the cask doesn't hit them. And the same goes for their range setup. So a proper cask can completely disorganize their team and force them to get that we need to run away mentality while your team is doing full damage and just kind of picking them off one by one. And you pair that with slapping a maledict down on somebody, you're going to be knocking out one person easily with this maledict, given that they don't have magic immunity, and given that they're going to be too busy trying to run away from cask to be bothered with trying to save that one person. And if they do try to save that one person, they're going to be eaten alive, because not any teams, unless they have like a significant, and I mean significant, advantage in the team battle, is going to be able to survive an 8-second stun, which is a little bit more than that, simply because of the bouncing. It has travel distance, so the stun actually lasts for a little bit longer than that. We'll say around maybe 11 seconds. So that's 11 seconds of their team being quite dysfunctional. So it's all about, you know, learning how to cast properly, in my opinion. And along with casting properly, your ulti, placing that down is absolutely key to playing Witch Doctor properly. As you can see, we've pretty much dominated our lane. You know, they've left for the most part, and, you know, attempted to gank Drow, and it's going to be successful. I mean, they are definitely going to be doing this a lot more, because if you look at their setup, they have a very, very strong early game potential in the fact that they can push towers like no other. I mean, we see that, you know, we throw out a Doom and we do end up getting the kill, and thanks to the positioning there, I was able to get out, just because Fog of War is, you know, absolutely brilliant in this game, especially if you position yourselves in this wood area right here. People outside here cannot see you, so it's always the best time to, like, throw a cask because they're not prepared, or throw out maledict, or simply auto-attacking. But back to the team setup here. We know that they have Destroyer, who's going to function as their carry. Bounty Hunter, who can really play a very effective game against Riki, because we all know that track effectively screws his invisibility. And we do have quite a bit of squishy, being Witch Doctor and Drow. So if he gets a good early game off, they should be able to keep those 3 heroes in a perpetual state of being dead. Additionally, they fall apart in the late game. As strong as they are in the early, they fall apart in the late. So what they need to do is take advantage of the fact that they have Death Prophet and they have Shadow Shaman. Meaning they need to be pushing non-stop, 100% of the time. Because otherwise, they are going to be in a huge deficit here. And we saw that Bounty Hunter was revealed thanks to the charge. And we're going to be initiating here, I believe, in about 5 seconds or so. We're going to actually go in on this. And, you know, my thought process doing all of this is I have invisibility. I'm going to wait for the absolute best time to throw out the cask and go for it. And what really deterred me from throwing the cask out at this point was the fact that they are sticking next to those wards, which is absolutely what they should be doing at this point. None of us at this point in the game can really do anything about this, because look at our HP pools. We can't withstand a maximum of like 2 volleys of those wards. So we had to separate the team battle into 2 different locations. One where I killed AA right around here with maledict prior to the team battle starting, and then I looped around the woods and I went and started team battling here. I couldn't walk right through this area because, if you recall, Bounty Hunter and Defiler were in this area, and yeah, I just called it Defiler. Too much on. Anyway, as I was saying, this area is essentially a death trap. So they did a very good job at sectioning the team battle. What I would have liked to see there was them actually committing to staying around this area, rather than pursuing us in this area where we were able to kind of clean them up. I mean, they did get the tower in the end, and that does put them ahead in gold, I believe, on the gold chart. Man, I cannot click today. So, as you can see, they were ahead in that bottom peak there, and after the team battle, we were able to regain some ground, which isn't what they wanted to do there. They should have pushed the tower, stayed next to their wards into a defensive position, forced us to stay in around this area, and then left. That should have been the extent of what should have happened there. And really good thought there, a lot of people don't do this often enough, is using Blink Strike on your allies to get the hell out of tower range, or out of hero range, or out of whatever. That's definitely something a lot of people underrate and don't use very often. So, pretty good idea from this Ricky. Anyways, we see that Bounty Hunter is trying to kill me. You know, at this point, I'm not scared of him. He really can't kill me, especially if he uses Shuriken too early, because that's his only mini stun. If he throws that Shuriken on me too early, I will throw the cask, maledict, and I will kill him off with ward. He might kill me in the process, but I guarantee he will die as well. And that's going to deter him later on in the game from actually trying to kill me, because the psychology behind, you know, players is pretty easy to predict. You know, you know that one person is screwing you over, you're not going to mess with them. And, you know, that's how a lot of things happen, which is a problem in the pro scene as well. Because you see teams that, you know, lose disastrously against one another, and due to that, they play horribly the next game as well. So, doing little things to make them feel that they can't take you on actually plays a pretty significant role, believe it or not, in how these games are played. So I throw out the single cask there onto Shadow Shaman because I know that he can't survive. If I put that maledict down, he's dead. And we do a little bit of the same thing. I try to put down my ward into a proper position there so it can not only give us vision, which I think I actually did that a little bit too late for that to be a factor, but to be able to pair up with Spirit Breaker stun and deal a little bit more damage in that regard, because I didn't have maledict up there. So if we didn't kill him before his team was able to come support him at that tier 1 tower, we wouldn't have killed him at all there. Anyways, back to the items. We saw that I picked up Arcane Boots, and I finished off my Magic Wand, and I picked up a Bracer. Obviously, in my opinion, Witch Doctor should always get Arcane Boots, especially when you start, you know, getting Voodoo Restoration. Now, Voodoo Restoration can act and function as a little mini-well. You know, people who are down on HP say Zhao has been jungling for a while now, and she's at half HP, I can walk by and heal her to full, and that will grant her more farm than before. So a good silencer and cask will allow maledict to just kind of finish him off. I mean, despite him being able to go invis, that's really not going to change anything.
I'll have your skull for my satchel.
But back to the clarity potions. Admittedly, I didn't actually use them to their fullest extent. Essentially, I just wasted 100 gold on clarity potions. Because those are really early game items, and they don't function too well in the later parts of the game. And here's what I'm talking about, the cask being really effective and forcing people to run. So, you saw there that AA started to run along with Shadow Shaman. They just turned around and became ineffective and essentially turned this into a 2v5 situation. And we just completely cleaned them up at this point. And you saw me just a second ago put down my ultimate downhill. Now, that's another thing that I want to talk about when you play Witch Doctor. When you put down your ulti, try to put it down in where you can abuse Fog of War. What do I mean by this? Right here, when I stood right around this area and put down my ulti here, what did that do for me? As you can see right now, when the creeps walk by, I can see this area right here, but I cannot see up this hill. So when I put down my death ward, I'm going to be able to kill people in this vicinity. I will be protecting this area right here. And for them to come stop me, they have to go into somewhere they don't see. For all they know, my entire team could be right there. In that situation, obviously, they weren't right there because they were all, trying to kill them here. But it stops them from trying to go up. And Death Ward, trying to tank Death Ward all the way through that transition, that's a lot of damage. So we're talking about 0.3 seconds doing 90 damage per instance. So we're talking at least 300 damage. And that's like being very, very generous in the amount of time it takes them to travel from one point to another. So it is a significant investment for them to go up that hill. So whenever you can, here is another good position to do this. Put your hero in the fog and stick your ulti right outside here. Or here. Or there. It makes your ulti significantly stronger because it will go uninterrupted. Oftentimes, witch doctors, they just kind of, oh, well, I'm standing right here. Team battle is occurring here. I'm going to set down my ulti right here and call it a day. What do people do? 9 times out of 10, they throw out a mini stun, they throw out a stun, they get rid of it instantly. And it's not as effective as it can be. When you try to say, well, okay, the team battle's here, I'm going to loop right around this vicinity, right around here, and put down my death ward right there. They're not going to stop you. If anything is going to happen, one person is going to suicide mission in to try to stop you. Number 2, they're going to run away. And when they run away, that is the prime opportunity for your team to do what they're good at and completely kill them. In this situation, we have a team built for this kind of strategy. We have the best chasers in the game. Or not really in the game, but we have really good chasers. Ricky, Blink Strike. Enough said there. Charge. Plus the movement speed passive. Okay? No need to say anything there as well. And Frost Arrow. You pair those things together, we got a perfect team for people to try to run away from us. Because they simply can't. Now, as far as my items go, I like to go super supportive when I play this hero. I don't like to do the whole Dagon thing. That only works if you're in middle and you're soloing, in my opinion, because that's the only time that I feel it's acceptable to be last hitting with this hero, is if you're in that middle lane and you're not taking it from someone who needs it more than you. So I like to go Django, Drum of Endurance in this game. And enough said there. Really don't need to talk about how amazing of an item this Drum is. So, like I said before, wait for this positioning. This positioning is the best positioning you can get into in order to score the kills that you need to score with cask. I mean, as you saw there, they really couldn't do anything as soon as that cask went out. You know? So, I can't stress this enough. Do your best to kind of learn the placement on cask, because it is so strong if you place it properly. And another thing I wanted to mention about the ultimate was that placing it closer to certain heroes, like I did just a second ago, I knew that I got the kill on, I believe it was AA. And so I put my ulti further away from AA and closer to the other hero. That way my ward would prioritize attacking that hero. So little bits of, you know, strategy like that can score you that double kill. Because in that situation, I feel that if I didn't set my ward up in that manner, we wouldn't have been able to get that second kill. So don't try to pour more damage on your maledict. You know, maledict will take, you know, a bit of damage to get worked up, but it doesn't need that much. You do not need to pour, you know, your ulti, cask, and maledict on one person to kill somebody. One cask, the assist of a teammate, maledict is enough to kill any one person. You know, given you have a sufficient amount of time to attack them. It will kill anybody. Using your ward there is not a good idea, unless you absolutely need it to get that startup on maledict, which is usually the 1v1 situation. But what you want to try to do is put your ward in a position where it can do more damage to the opposing team. Because, you know, like I said, maledict is going to kill that person. You do not need to make maledict tick for 1,000 on its first proc. You know, that's just overkill. By placing Death Ward closer to another hero, you're actually dealing more damage in the fact that it's not going to be wasted. It's going to be applied, and it's not going to be overkill like maledict. But, you know, it's all about, you know, getting a little bit more comfortable with how maledict deals its damage and how quickly it can get ramped up. So it takes a little bit of experience in that department. It's not too difficult to, you know, kind of guesstimate. Usually what I do is, if I see the hero lose about, we'll say, 2/4 of their HP, we say that maledict will more than likely kill them if they're a squishy int hero or squishy agility. Now, as far as the items go, I did pick up the mechanism, so that supports the supporting role. Always try to go for support on Witch Doctor. I mean, there are other builds that you can go, and they are completely effective at, you know, playing that role. But their actual use is very rare because they're very situational. So try not to go for that Dagon build in the side lane, and, you know, try to take away that farm from someone who needs it more than you. Now, something that I've been doing kind of a poor job this game of doing is placing down wards throughout the map. And as you can see, the enemy team, we've got wards. That one just appeared, but it was there, trust me. This is about to expire, but they've been doing their job as far as warding goes. Whenever you play support, don't undervalue wards like I see a lot of people do. Yeah, you spend 200 gold. Yes, this delays your boots, your mechanism, your drums, your magic wand, whatever item you're trying to go for. But if you can spare your team one death, you know, or score your team one kill, you've already paid for the ward and more. You know, it is taking a hit to your personal finance. Most of the time, you yourself are not going to be gaining the money back directly from your wards, but the people who matter in the long run, your carries, your middle lane, all of them benefit so significantly from ward placement. So it's definitely something every single person should consider when playing support. So we see that Drow chose to do a little bit of a Rambo here and, you know, score that kill on AA. It turns out to work out very well, I believe, for her. Simply because she does have that Shadow Blade, so it is going to be okay. So I'm scurrying over, and, you know, I'm going to throw off that cask. I don't want Crobulus there to auto-attack him anymore because I was kind of scared for his life. Defiler ulti, sorry, Death Prophet ulti is very hard to tank. You cannot really tank that and survive for very long. So I wanted to reduce as much damage as I could by throwing out that cask. It could have been more effective used elsewhere, but you know, that's all I can do, especially because of the poor positioning that I had. As you may have seen earlier, I got hit by track, and that made me feel, well, right out here. The hunter is trying to aim me down, and you know, he's trying to, you know, gun for me. So I sat back around that river area, and I didn't stay with my team. Now, this is something that happens to a lot of people who play support. They undervalue just how strong of a role they play in team battles. You know, in that situation, I was afraid that I was going to die, so I kind of sat back. I didn't want to give them, you know, the free kill, especially because I think I have I have 10 kills. So, and no deaths. So that means I would be giving whoever killed me 700 gold. That's pretty significant. So I was kind of, I sat back and I decided to not really join my team as early as I could have and should have. You know, whenever you're tracked, it's always a good idea to stick by your teammates. Most of the time, bounty hunters aren't that ballsy. They're not going to be diving you at the risk of them dying. Especially in a situation where you have 1300 health and a mechanism. So this is me just trying to, you know, establish a little bit of dominance here. I believe that Doom comes out, and I completely misplay here. You know, just there's no words for what just happened. I missed my maledict, first of all. Second of all, I tried to, you know, make up for it by giving Doom vision and placing my death ward right there, so that way we have vision of this area. This is what I was talking about earlier, but in reverse. Rather than using it to conceal myself, I used it to reveal them. So had he walked up in this area, you know, right up through here, he probably would have taken a significant amount of damage and probably died there. But unfortunately, he walked right through this area and completely avoided the death ward. So whenever you know, try to go aggressive, just like what I did there, I should have paid attention to the minimap and realized that Doombringer was right next to me and waited to throw out that cask. Because if I did, we would have gotten the kill because I would have not missed that maledict. So in this situation, I see that Ricky's getting low HP, and I see it fit that, you know, I don't want him to die. I know he has track on him, so I'm going to try to tank it, and I wait for that special moment, and this is what I'm talking about. Perfect example. Wait for that positioning, because cask completely destroys positioning. You saw there, all of them were on us. And I should have died there. But because of how strong of a stun cask is, I was able to save not only myself, but I was able to save our Ricky from dying there. So that just goes to show you how as soon as they position themselves awkwardly, how quickly a good cask can just simply 360 everything. So here I have my death ward up, and I decide I'm not going to be going for the, you know, overkill, and I save it because, you know what, we can use it sometime later. Because as we're being very aggressive right now, we've killed 2 people. This would be a great time to do one of 2 things: kill Roshan, which I believe we're going to be doing, or to push. So having them try to come and attack us in this area, they do have it warded, so they do know that we're here if they were looking at the minimap and chose to come attack us, which doesn't look like they're going to be doing. AA's ulti does confirm that we're doing it, so you know, they know we're here, but they're not coming to attack us. In the case that they did attack us, I did have my ulti up to kind of, you know, support the team, and, you know, I'm not completely useless in that situation. I'd be able to pour out a little bit more damage than I would have otherwise if I used my death ward to get the kill on Destroyer right here. And like I mentioned at the very start of this, their team needed to do a lot of pushing, which is something they didn't do. So at the end game, we started completely turning it around and kind of pushing them over. Not really trying very hard. You know, we just flat out started winning without very much damage being taken on our side. So whenever you see a pushing team, if you can deny them what they built that team for, which is to push, their team crumbles later on in the game. They're not nearly as strong if you stop them from doing their pushes. I mean, we saw them way above on the gold count, way above. Now look at the difference. We are 12,000 gold in the positive. Essentially, there's no feasible way for them to actually come back in this game at this point. We have just such a significant gold lead. They shouldn't be able to recuperate from this, unless we do something just completely wrong. Excuse me. Anyway, I did pick up the Dagon. You know, whenever you're winning by this magnitude, it's always a good idea to, you know, pick up a fun item. In this situation, I thought Dagon would be a perfect choice. Simply because I can mess with my team, you know, kind of, you know, KS them jokingly. Wait for that hero to have, you know, 5 HP and just swoop in with a Dagon and make them rage a little bit. You know, I don't do that to, you know, piss them off or anything, and this is by no means something you should do if you have Dagon, okay? Dagon is not used to kill heroes at 10 HP. This is not the message that I'm trying to deliver here. It's just something, as a joke, since we've won, I picked it up. This is not the best item progression, alright? If this was a serious game, I probably would have gotten another supportive item and called it a day. But something I haven't touched on is how strong cask is for pushing and farming. As you can see that it bounces 8 times and it has a 5-second stun on creeps, and it deals damage, 150 damage to neutrals. And you saw me do this quite a few times throughout the game. I would throw cask and use that to farm. Don't underrate, you know, your ability to do jungle or to farm with a support hero. Just because you are a support does not mean that you should have, you know, normal boots, a magic wand, and just ward all game. That's not how you effectively support. You need to have items. You need to be able to survive and do what you do. You know, you need, you know, in example, Lich. He needs to stay alive to be effective. He needs to get some sort of, you know, income to make that work. And for this hero, he's exceptionally good at farming jungle without trying, or farming creep waves if they happen to be empty and you shouldn't be needed elsewhere. Alright, this is it for this little VOD on Witch Doctor. I hope you guys found it informative and fun to watch. Anyways, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. This was Zeigus. Hope you guys have a good day.